going to set the stage with a very interesting couple of cases.
Yeah.
Both of them relate to food, and sort of it's a little bit of a physical and psychological exploration of the law and the judgments. Tell us a story.
Right. Well, what happens, Leanne, one of the greatest challenges that a lawyer faces when the client comes into the office is to assess their claim, because sometimes you've got a situation that is a very serious situation, but you're not sure about the harm it caused, and then you've got something that maybe seems like a minor situation, but has caused a very big harm.
And these two cases are perfect examples of that.
Right. Great illustration. So the first case is one, it's about a 10-year-old case. It actually went to the Supreme Court of Canada. And this is a fellow who bought a Culligan water bottle. Many people know this case. And it was sealed. He hadn't opened it, but looked inside and saw a dead fly. And the reaction that he had to this dead fly in the bottle was extreme, to the point where he couldn't eat, he couldn't drink, he couldn't sleep, he couldn't shower, he couldn't have sex, he couldn't work, his personality changed. He had a complete unraveling psychiatrically. And it was, obviously it's tragic and it's traumatic. And by all accounts, it was legitimate. And so he sued Culligan, of course, who shouldn't have had a fly in their water bottle. He was successful when he went to trial for hundreds of thousands of dollars for his losses. Ultimately, it went all the way to the Supreme Court of Canada, where they determined that Culligan couldn't have reasonably foreseen this harm to this individual. But the point is that you look at something that might be completely innocuous to one person, has a devastating effect on somebody else, and so you're typically compensated for the harm that you suffer.
And cases, as you've discussed before in the program, are not nearly the cash settlements or the settlements that you would expect, and that we hear about in other countries.
Right.
But for this one case, and I am not a lawyer, wouldn't it be argued that if in fact the fly did lead to that undoing, that anything might have triggered that? And as I say, I don't know all of the intricacies of the case.
Well, you're right. So what happens is some people are susceptible for whatever reason. And so that's why in Canadian law, you take your victim as you find them. And there are people with certain vulnerabilities, and that's not their problem. That's why you have to be extra careful if you're putting a product out there, because there are people who are vulnerable.
Another example, though, and this is a case you've briefly discussed before on the program, and this relates to someone who had something truly catastrophic happen after eating a burger.
Right, so this is the opposite end of the spectrum, where we've got this fellow who goes in, buys himself this fantastic burger, which he said was delicious, and it was about this big, supposed to be held together by a steak knife. It was held together by a wooden skewer in this case. Eats the burger, a couple days later, buckled over, in an incredible amount of pain, gets rushed to the hospital, he's septic, almost dies, and they discover that a piece of wood, likely from the skewer in the burger, went through his system, cut him up pretty badly, caused him major internal injuries, emergency surgery, cut wide open, a scar like this, in the hospital for an extended period of time. But in this guy's case, he kind of bounced back, and within a couple months, he's eating burgers again. He's working. He's got this nasty scar, but that's kind of it.
So it speaks to how individuals, handle circumstances.
Yeah, you take your victim as you find them, and trying to match the event to the harm is a real challenge that we have.
And you say you see this in traffic accidents all the time as well.
Yeah, sure. I mean, you've got a vehicle that may roll over 3 times in a terrible collision, and all passengers get out and they're like, dust themselves off and they're fine. Or you could have what seems to be a minor fender bender creates a concussion or something that can completely devastate somebody and put them out of commission. So really you have to try to reconcile the event that occurred, but then really look at the harm that the individual suffered.